Hello, everyone. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and I wanted to welcome you to our weekly trading plan. And of course, warm welcome goes to our new people. And for you, this is your first time. Just the title pretty much covers it, your weekly trading plan. And as I always like to say, and I think it's been proven scientifically, that if you spend some time into planning, the results could be better, to say the least. Of course, in trading, you cannot guarantee the results. That's the beauty of it. But our job is really prepare, have a plan, and that brings more order and less chaos into our trading. A few words about myself. This is me, Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. I started my trading experience in June of 2000. I started as a proprietary trader, did it for about 11 years, and then moved into different trading. Also started to mentor and educate other traders. And I'm very happy that today I have an opportunity to support our customers at AvaTrade. Okay, the agenda. Usually it's the same thing we do every week. We talk about indices, stocks, commodities, forex. We talk a little bit about fundamentals and the big picture, analyze the previous week, and try to make plans for the week to come. Risk warning. What we do here is purely educational. We do not suggest any trades, of course. These are the channels that I highly recommend for you to follow. You have Telegram, you have Twitter, and as I always say, my favorite YouTube channel. And it has a lot of information, educational tutorials, webinars. You might be watching this webinar also on YouTube. And if you do like it, please reflect it by clicking on the likes. And please feel free to share it if you think that somebody else can benefit. And definitely subscribe and click on that bell so you'll be notified when new things are coming in. All right, so a few things about the highlights of the past week. And the highlights were, of course, the non-farm payroll. When we get to the charts, we'll talk about it, how market initially reacted in a negative way. And then we had a huge recovery in the equity markets. So let's just try to analyze it. The prediction was, or the past number of added jobs was 227. The expectation was 470,000 jobs added, and the number was beating the records. 336,000 jobs were added. So initially the market reacted, as you know, the Feds are focusing on these numbers, but then it looks like investors are kind of switched their focus to something important that the Feds are taking into consideration, and that's the average hourly earnings. And the earnings stays the same as the previous number, even though the prediction was rising by 0.1%. So it looks like this number, according to the sources that I kind of checked, the analysts, that's what they say, that this number made a difference and the market reversed. In my opinion, also this number could be a catalyst as well, as the unemployment also ticked 10% to the upside. So the last one, 3.8. The expectation was 3.7, which stayed so similar to the data on the average hourly earnings. So market did reverse. We'll take a look at the moment the chart, so it will be more clear what happened. So these are the things. Okay, now not to forget, Monday is a Columbus Day in the States. The stock market works regularly, but the bond market will be closed in honor to the holiday. So that's Columbus Day in the States. Okay, this is the economic calendar, and I'd just like to mention a few words, especially for new people, that here I just pull out the high impact events. There are much more. You can filter them. You can choose what's relevant for your trading. Like I said, I take only high impact events here. And let's take a look what's happening. Wednesday, we have CPI numbers from Germany, PPI numbers from US, and also important FOMC minutes. So this is a kind of an announcement or clarification of the last decision on interest rate that we just had. So it's important. Thursday, we have CPI numbers, another round of data that's also watched closely by the Feds. So CPI we have on Thursday. We have CPI from China. Also, it's not showing here because it's not the high impact, but I think should be. That's the balances, the trade balances from China, which is very important, also happening on Friday. And another event on Friday was, which is Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, also important to see how consumers are feeling about the economy. So these are the things as far as the economic calendar. Excuse me. So now we'll bring the charts and we'll start analyzing things. Now, before that, just a few things for you to show. And I'll bring the 1 hour chart and just run through the reversal move on the US indices. And the analysts say these were the biggest move or intraday ranges move since March. And you could see it. This was the initial reaction to the market right here when the news came out, and we continued and we closed high. Just to give you the numbers, Dow Jones rose 0.9%, and it was down about 0.8%. So it's kind of a 1.7% reversal. That's on Dow Jones. S&P's similar idea. It was up 1.2%, and the weekly gain 0.5%. And Nasdaq also had a huge reversal, and we finished the day up 1.6%, and the weekly gain as well 1.6%. So the question is, what's going to be next? And let's go back to daily charts. Let's take a look. Dow Jones, nice recovery, as you could see here, kind of erasing the previous 3 days of losses. S&P's 4 days of losses, even 5, and we are above the 50 moving average. And Nasdaq looks the strongest, and we are kind of hitting 50 moving average over here. So we'll see how the announcement play a role in the markets. Definitely, the beginning of the earnings season will start kicking in, and we'll see individual companies reporting and reflecting it on their price actions, and of course that will be influencing the indices as well. So we're starting towards the end of the week. Some banks are reporting, some other companies. So the game of earnings has started. Okay, so that's as far as indices. Now let's take a look at China, as we usually do. China also had a nice recovery after this, you can call it the triple bottom around here somewhere, with a nice recovery into Friday. And with the China, of course, we want to see crude oil and copper. Copper reacted with China together to the upside, and crude oil remains weak. So we'll talk about it when we get to the commodities. So we established that indices had a nice recovery, and we'll move to individual stocks. And let's take a look at the stocks that we mentioned last week. So we spoke about Netflix having support on the weekly chart. We had also a nice recovery here and bounce off the 200 moving average here. And again, on Netflix, there was a news that they're looking to increase the subscription price. So let's see how Netflix proceeds from here. And we just hit the 200 moving average and recovered the previous pretty much week of sell-offs. Apple had a nice move to the upside, nice recovery this past week. It looked like around 170. We held that level. We closed above 177. So as I mentioned, Apple you could consider as a leader of the market, and important to see what it does in order to judge what other high-tech or tech companies will be doing. Google had a nice move. If you remember, I mentioned last week, or maybe I did it in my other webinar, I'm not sure, but Google is being really scrutinized by Department of Judgment or whoever is in charge of antitrust things, and they're blaming the company for being a monopoly in the search engines and other things. And there was CEO of Microsoft testifying and so on. But it looks like Google is holding strong, and we are retesting the recent highs. It looks very healthy here. Facebook also had a nice recovery. We just broke through resistance on Friday with this huge move, and I think that's why the Nasdaq is really looking good, up 1.6% a week, because a lot of big names had a nice move to the upside. So we did break that resistance of 312.70. We closed at 315.30 there. Boeing, let's take a look at Boeing. We did have a final bounce from this huge sell-off, and let's see if this move continues. Just to remind you, we spoke about Deutsche Bank setting up a price target on Boeing at 204. We're currently at 187, so we might see, if the market continues to the upside, especially, we might see the move to the upside in Boeing. Definitely worth watching. The bank stocks, finally, they had a little bit sign of life. Bank of America, a little bit of recovery. Goldman Sachs moving nicely to the upside, and JP Morgan as well. Citibank, all of them had a little bit of recovery this past week. Let's see if that mood continues. Our Teva, we spoke about it. We clearly held the 200 moving average here after recent highs to almost 11. We hit 1070 on the 20th, and we just retested 200 moving average and bounce of it to the upside. So we'll be watching for possible continuation. Nike, after great earnings and a sell-off, with slowly climbing up. We did try to close the gap, didn't happen. So the bulls are taking control, and let's see if we are on the way to retest the highs. We're at around 99 and a quarter, or we might have reversal and test or try to close the gap. But judging by the earnings and initial reaction, if the market supports the upside move, we might see continuation to the upside in Nike. Let's take a look at Pfizer. We also spoke about Pfizer, and we mentioned around 33, 36 being the support. We are trading around 33, below the level that we mentioned, around 33.30. So you see right here, the moment we broke it, there was an impulse, and the next day we sold, but then we recovered nicely, and Friday was a green day. So in order for Pfizer to move up, we need to start rebuilding support above the 33.30 level. And if this continues, that means the resistance really prevails here, and we might see continuation lower, maybe retest around 30. So those are the two scenarios. And another thing, over here on the daily chart, you can clearly see that I think that's Wednesday's low. It's our immediate support. We'll see if that holds. It's about 20 cents from the closing price on Friday, right? So that's Pfizer. And Tesla, nice recovery and holding nicely. Just to remind us, we mentioned the 240 level. It held it nicely. We spoke about it last week, and the whole week it's pretty much in green. We had on the 3rd, we had the red day, and followed by the nice move to the upside, and we closed the week on the highs. So That's Tesla. Okay, let's go to commodities, and we already spoke a little bit about copper. Copper reacted initially to the Chinese index going higher. So let's see. See right here, we had a double bottom here. We bounced from around, what's the price here? Around 371, and sorry, 362, 363, and we are on Friday. After the few days of sell-off, we just erased those 3-day sell-off, and we closed at 363. So let's see if we are seeing price actions here as a support pointing to the move to the upside. We could see that a nice move to the upside. And of course, in the opposite scenario, if we dip below 363, 362 again and start building resistance, we might go and retest the recent lows, which are matching the lows of the end of May. Now, crude oil. Crude oil has been selling this all week, and the low on Friday was 81.5. So we should see that if that being tested again, and what's next in the price action. And it could be that oil will decide to react to positive move in the market on Friday and bounce higher. So we'll see. As you could see, the open and close on oil on Friday was within 1 penny. So it just tells you that there's a mood of not knowing where to go from here. There was a sell-off, there was a recovery, and we stopped right at the opening price. So it's going to be very interesting what oil will be doing next week. And of course, the unfortunate news from the Middle East with the war started in Israel. Usually it affects the oil in a positive way. A lot of unknown, a lot of panic in the region usually triggers the upside move in oil. So we'll be watching that in the upcoming week. And of course, we'll hope that that chaos will end as soon as possible. So that's crude oil. We have good news from natural gas. You remember me saying that we need to break 3 in order to some serious move to happen, and that happened this week. So on Thursday, let's see. First on Wednesday, we did challenge the 3. The high was 305, and we closed 2 pennies below. And then Thursday was an impulse to the upside the moment we broke the highs of the previous day, and Friday continued as well. So we are out of the $3 woods, and let's see if this move is sustainable. Like I mentioned to you for many weeks, that we had a very tight accumulation, a lot of instrument being collected here. So the move could be significant, and so far we moved about 40 cents, and on the weekly chart we are hitting the 50-week moving average here. On the daily chart, it was a steep move, and as you could see here, the volume is growing, so it's a healthy, real move to the upside. The question is, where is the next stop? And that could be anywhere. I mean, psychologically, it's $4, maybe $3.50, a break and further. We'll see, but we're not going to make any predictions. But fundamentals are for natural gas. We're entering the fall and winter when demand is growing. It looks like we had a nice bounce in the equity markets. That's also kind of a positive. So, and technically we broke out of 3. And just to remind you, we had a few attempts that failed previously. One was in March. One was beginning of August. And now we finally broke through that level and continue to the upside. So that's natural gas. We definitely will be watching what's next. Gold also had a nice recovery on Friday after a huge sell-off and a cool down period here. On Friday, we made a new recent low at 1810 and a nice recovery. We closed at almost 1832, about $3 below the day's high. So technically, it's a huge outside bar here. And if we do break Friday's high, which was 1834.79, and of course, if all the fundamentals will align, we might see a nice recovery here to the upside and potentially retesting the previous support. We'll take it day by day. Okay, so that's gold. Of course, silver went with it. A nice move here. And I think platinum as well had a nice recovery, kind of erasing the 3 days of sell-offs. And on platinum, good to notice that we hit the level of the previous support. It looks like for now we are having resistance here, but if things are going to be in favor to the metals, if we see the lift above this 883, 884 level and establishing support, we might actually be back into support area and opening a space for the move to the upside. So that's as far as commodities. Let's go into Forex. And on Forex, we had a little bit of a sell-off of $1. And that's also was together the reaction to the cooling down upside move in the 10-year yields. So as you could see here, after hitting on Tuesday the high of 107.03, the last 3 days of the week, the dollar was in a downside move. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Let's see 1 hour chart so you could see. This was the initial reaction, as you could see, with the NFP numbers. But then we went and broke through the lows and continued lower. So 3 days to the downside, and we did close below this level that we marked in the past, 105.85. That was the previous resistance from which dollar sold, as you could see here. So we're back to that level, and it's very crucial. We did close below it. So if we see a build up at the resistance below this line, we might see continuation. As I mentioned, with the Feds in focus, we have a few announcements this week. That includes the FOMC meeting minutes. So maybe that will trigger, and if there's a more dovish mood of the Feds as far as the interest rate increases, we might see a continuation to the downside of the dollar. So we are right at that level of decision which way we're gonna go, right? And that's as far as dollar index. Of course, the major currencies did the similar move in the opposite direction. Pound is up 3 days. Euro is up 3 days. Yen. Now, yen is very interesting here. Just want to bring you also the 1 hour chart right here, this move. It was a very short move, about 1 minute. And some say it was an intervention by Bank of Japan. I don't know if the updates, but as of last week, they didn't confirm it. So the move was very drastic. The yen moved about 2%. And as I always say, the Bank of Japan are very tricky as far as with the actions, and they don't usually announce things. They do things as they think they need to do them. So yen, going back to daily chart, yen has been strong, and then the Friday it got weaker. So definitely we continue watching all the pairs with the yen as the last day of the week, the Friday. Yen sold a little bit, so all the currencies had a nice move to the upside against yen. We'll be watching for the updates in the upcoming week. CHFJPY, if you remember, I mentioned that a few times. If you remember this level, 159.88 that we hit in 1979. Take a look. This past week, we tested that level again to the penny, 159.88, and that happened on the 3rd. So you could see here that was a big move. So we'll be continuing watching that. It did retest that level a few times, and as you could see on the daily chart, one of the weak signs here that we keep on making lower lows and lower highs in this pair. So the big move potentially could happen if we finally dive below 159.88 and start building resistance. And of course, we need some fundamental positive news for yen. So we might see a nice recovery to the downside in this pair. Okay. So again, we established the dollar sold for 3 consecutive days, and the sell-off increased on Friday when equity markets reversed the initial move to the downside and moved higher. Gold moved with them, and dollar sold, and that was on Friday. Okay. And let's take a look at a few of the kind of unique pairs that we mentioned a few times. You have USD Hungarian forint. If you remember, or for new people, we spoke about some fundamental reasons why it could have a nice move to the upside. We start talking about it around here, 335. There are a few moves, a sell-off and continuation. And we can continue watching that, as it's very sensitive, of course, to US dollar. And also USD ZAR. So you could see here, we are close to the key level around 1915. We had a nice move to the upside, and only on Friday on the reversal of a dollar, dollars are sold. So let's see how we act, or what's the price action we'll see at 1915. If we hold this level and the dollar regains strength, we might see continuation and challenging the 20 levels. And if the opposite happens, if we have a weakness in the dollar and we come and break through 1915, we might see continuation to the downside and look for the next support. And Swedish krona, we mentioned a few times. As you could see here, we spoke about this level 93. The reason being, we mentioned that it couldn't break on many occasions, and we did have a nice move when the euro sold, and we were challenging the 200 moving average here. And this past week we had a little bit of recovery, so let's see if we come to test it again. And dollar SEK as well. We just dive below the level that we mentioned here, around 10.98 or 11. And if the weakness of a dollar continues, we might see continuation to the downside in this pair. Okay, so that's it with Forex. And let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. We're currently trading at close to 28,000. Let's see. We did test the 28,000 on the 6th. The next day, we had pretty much a flat day, and today we're a little bit in the red, and we are below 100 and the 200 moving average. So let's just make it a little bigger. So I guess our indication should be, if we break the low of yesterday, we might see continuation to the downside. And we are having a 200 moving average as a resistance. So as long as it's staying this way, the Bitcoin looks like it's looking down at this point. Okay. All right. Again, I want to remind everyone about our channels, Telegram, Twitter, and YouTube. Please leave your comments, leave your feedback. That would be great, especially on YouTube. Share, subscribe. I want to thank everyone for participating. I want to wish everyone a good, productive, and peaceful week. And I hope that we'll hear more good news from Middle East region. And as I said, that the chaos should stop as soon as possible. All the best. Take care.